help with the FTOs to make sure that they don't get overworked and overwhelmed with all of the training. Also allows them a couple days off where they don't have to be running with people. So normally we do 1 week on, 1 week off. Oh my god.
That
We
wasn't
just
me.
Was that a
we
hatchet?
just
I'm not
I
gonna
can
blame
smell
don't
that.
just
You
ignore
know when it was
ignore
me.
it.
Just
quiet,
blaming
please.
Ian.
Move on.
That's bullshit.
I'm trying to compose myself.
Sorry.
It's okay, Sasquatch. So with the hiring process, it's 1 week on, 1 week off. We just finished our week off, so we will be opening up the hiring this coming Monday. We'll wait a few days for the hirees to kind of put in their applications, and then we invite them to an interview process where we schedule it for a couple days for myself and Hatchet. We'll give the FTOs a heads up, and then from that point on, we hire that crew. We wait till that crew is moved up into their officer or at least probationary rank, and then we open up hiring again. So hopefully that clarifies any of that. Question, yes.
Is the email still a good place to get the application?
It's in the main email, yeah.
So I can refer them to that. Okay.
Yes.
Alright,
I guess I can go over the next few things because they're more administrative.
Yeah.
So overall, the last couple of days, we've been keeping an eye on the report quality. As you guys have seen, we have lists that come through of reports when they're checked. Please make sure that you're filling everything in properly. I even detailed out an example as to what a report should look like. I believe it should still be on the dashboard of the MDT if you're curious to look at it. So please make sure your reports are nice and clean. One thing that I have noticed lately after following up with some stuff is that I have gone through and checked the evidence lockers after a report has been filed, and there's been evidence missing from the lockers. So please make sure you're putting your evidence away immediately after finishing your report. The other thing that I've been noticing as well is people are confiscating items that are not on our approved confiscation list. Things like cell phones and paintings, that sort of thing. It's very hard to track back. Please don't remove that off of the person. If it's not on our confiscation list, then you can gather some proof together as to why you believe it should be, and we could submit it to the judge for approval. But if it's not on that list, do not remove it off of somebody's person. I've noticed too that regular lockpicks have been removed. Those are not illegal. So please make sure we leave those on the person. The advanced lockpicks are. Review your SOP if you're uncertain as to what items need to be removed. Questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Go ahead.
What if we believe that the tools have been used in the event of a crime, such as like breaking and entering?
Then you need to gather the information and we submit it to the judge. But if they're not on the approved list, then we cannot legally remove them off said person.
I believe it does state with lockpicks, normal lockpicks, they can be removed in the event of a crime. If they are used in commission of said crime.
I don't believe that has been.
It's just the advanced lockpick.
Yeah, just the advanced ones that I'm aware of. But we can follow up on that. Again, if it's not on that main list, you can just submit one for us to be able to update the SOP and speak to the judge on items that you believe should be confiscatable.
Okay.
And I think that's it for me.
Alrighty. Next thing. So LOIs, I know. Not sure if everybody knows. Maybe we can get it kind of more central location so you guys can know what divisions are open. But I believe every division is open. Is that correct?
Yes, I don't believe any division is.
Yeah. So every division is, currently looking for members. So for those of you who just became an officer, if you have something you want to specialize in, look into it a little bit more. Maybe ask the division head. I think everybody's here other than Riker, division head wise. So if you have questions or want to know more about something about a specialization, please do. Ask. You can ask us as well. It's best to ask the division head and how they're gonna run things for the most part. Just reach out to them, especially if you just became an officer. Most time, as of now, we're waiving that 7 days that you have to wait to apply to a division. If that is the case, definitely take advantage. Frost, you want to go over the next thing with Ema?
I can't go over detective first.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, I didn't know if we wanted to go over
I'll do
all
SWAT
the
and
divisions
traffic.
first.
I'll do
Okay.
SWAT and traffic.
All right, Gant, you want to go over anything detectives got topic-wise? Anything of importance?
Yeah.
Come on up here.
All right.
Speak.
I'm just gonna... All right. So detectives wise,
Why are you standing like that?
pretty much the big thing for us is obviously I'm gonna reiterate what's already sent out. Was the when you are processing somebody, it's very, very important for us for you guys to get fingerprint and DNA swabs from those that you are processing. Prime example is we are getting a few murder cases coming around where there's blood sample and whatnot, and when we go to look up, try to see if we've got anyone with a blood sample, anything on the scene. If you've done it and did the work and put in your reports, it's a lot easier for us to use that evidence to start, putting the case together and getting it solved. Especially, it gets a bit personal if you are involved in an attack of some sort where you got in a shootout and the suspect shot you, you shot him, but he got away. The only thing there is blood sample. If we don't have that blood sample in the system, it's very, very, very hard to try to track him and track him down. So, does anyone know? Does anyone not know where to put the DNA code, or not know which kit to use, or how to use? Okay, so everybody knows. Wonderful. So it should be easy for everybody to get that. Detectives is open, so if anyone interested, just contact me and I'll get you up to speed on what how we operate and how we do things. So other than that, anyone got any questions?
What are some of the exciting things detectives could do, Gant?
Wow, I'm glad. You know what? I would let you answer that question because I know you know, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it for you. So big things that detectives actually do. Obviously we do investigate different crimes. Let's say, obviously if there's a murder case, we go and try to collect evidence, and try to solve it. By doing that, what we do is we write up arrest warrants. We get subpoenas for different like phone numbers, party accounts, things like that. We are also investigating different locations where we know criminal activity is happening, such as like meth labs, or where they get supplies to cultivate marijuana, things of that nature. Once we obtain that information, we go and get a search and seizure warrant from the judges, and this is where SWAT comes in. We work with SWAT. Once we have a location, once we have the approval from the judges, we then work with SWAT. So many times we are participant in the raid itself. So as a detective, we are able to go along with SWAT in those raids. So we kind of do the before process as well as the back end process too. And that's just some of the small things, that we do. Obviously, if you have a scene, if you got a shootout somewhere and evidence need to be collected, and you have a detective on duty, definitely get with that detective so they can come down and collect evidence, bullet casing, blood samples, things of that nature. Also, witness statements is very key too. So, victim statements, witness statements, detectives will collect all of that and build a case and a report around your scene. One of the things I do want to push for detectives as well that's going to help our patrol is when you guys are on cases like bank robberies or high value locations like Bobcat. The detectives, normally myself, I will take the hostage and get the information for the hostage so that the people who are in patrol or traffic enforcement unit can't be on those chases. So eventually, the detectives, I would like to get them to where on those scenes we will be taking hostage pretty much 90% of the time, unless it's like with primary or whatever. But 90% of the time, I want the detectives to be taking statements from the hostage so that patrol and traffic enforcement can get on the chase itself. So we do a
Already
lot.
step ahead of you, boss.
Good. Any other questions?
We could do things like undercover operations and stings as well.
Those are undercover and secretive. We can't confirm or deny those type of. All right. That's all I got.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Hola, ¿cómo estás? That's all the Spanish I know. Don't ask me anything else. Anyway,
Muy bien.
you all know me, Lieutenant Frost. Hola, ¿cómo estás? I'm gonna go over SWAT and traffic really quick because Riker, of course, not here. Typical. Anyway, who likes to have big guns and shoot people? That's way less answers than I expected. Who likes to lose their job when they shoot the wrong people? Yeah, nobody does. SWAT is becoming a very interesting thing at the moment. It's moving from a division to a certification for the time being. So, what that means, you can be a part of another division under special rules and guidelines and still a member of SWAT. Now, this is going to encourage literally everybody to become SWAT because they all want to be a part of the funny raids that go on. There will be a cutoff at some point with how many people that Riker actually wants to have. What that number is, I have no idea. That's up to him to decide. Beyond that, so SWAT LOIs are open for certifications, not just for being a full member of the division. You may get more perks of being a part of that division if you are a full-time member rather than just a member via certification. And let's say, you don't spec into anything else. For example, let's say technically I'm a certified member of SWAT, but I also run traffic. There's certain things that I'm not allowed to do within SWAT. That a normal SWAT officer would generally potentially be allowed to do. Obviously, that's still, being decided on what those things are. Beyond that, like I said, LOIs are open. You can contact Riker in the IC email section. He has a whole format on like what he wants to hear from you guys, blah, blah, blah. What SWAT does. Whenever the funny man in the brim hat back there gets someone for us to raid, we run in there, tell people to get the fuck on the floor and raid that shit. Obviously, it's a little bit more in depth with that. We aren't a bunch of Southside rats who run in places with guns. We do actually have formations and things of that nature and actual, breaching precedents. So don't expect it to just be, a free-for-all. That's not what it is. SWAT can be deployed for a multitude of things. It's not like some cities where you guys are used to that SWAT is kind of they're everywhere. You guys feel like you can't do anything because SWAT is always doing negotiations or whenever we have to breach banks. That's not how it is here. That's not how we want it here. SWAT is only deployed for raids, high value target situations. Let's say perfect example, somebody takes a hostage and MRPD demanding their friend back. And we have them in custody. That's a situation where if SWAT was available, they'd be taking over. Any sort of barricaded suspects, if they're available. Obviously, the key word there is if they're available. If they're not available, we figure it out then. General situations like that, they're not going to be taking over every single hostage negotiations or breaching banks and shit like that. Don't worry, it's not going to take away from your guys' job. Anybody have any questions on SWAT? I love when you're all so silent. It really makes me feel great about myself.
You're amazing. We love you.
Yeah, I know. I'm just too good.
It
at
means
this.
you covered it so well.
Yeah,
that
I
there's
know,
no
right?
questions.
I know. I'm just too good at it.
Well, actually, I guess I could ask a question.
All right. Thanks for ruining the record. What's up,
Sorry.
Clouds?
Yeah. So you were talking about SWAT being a certification, but so is it still considered a division as well?
So
if they're limited with the cert?
So here's how that kind of works. That's all still like kind of being talked about. We have a baseline of how we're going to work it. SWAT is a certification. You can apply for SWAT if you are we call it a full-time member. if you are not a part of another division, there may be some tools that you have more access to than other people. For example, it's not nothing is set in stone right now. We're still in the talks of what tools those may be. I know that in the past it's been brought up that class 2s would only be accessed by certified members, and then full-time members would have access to class 3s. Obviously that's not something that we've actually decided upon, but that's just a given example of what I'm talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Same thing with
Thank you.
SWAT has like they have a riot shield and snake cameras, things like that. As a certified member, you may not be allowed to use all those things.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions regarding that?
I do want to say, like, the intent of SWAT, if you're more serious about it, is to have it become its own division again. But I mean, it's obvious we don't have the numbers for it, and having the support of the bigger guns for you guys, regular officers, is something we want to see.
Yeah. So it's not a permanent thing. Hopefully one day we'll have more than enough people who are dedicated to SWAT and who can help Riker out. But currently, him having 2 guys who can help him full time is just not enough. Alrighty. Moving into traffic, everybody's favorite topic because everybody wants to drive the super fast car. Yeah. Traffic LOIs are currently open. They'll be open for a couple more days while I still finish receiving some applications. So if you want in, throw them in there. There is, just look at how other people format them. There's not a super important format on how to do it. To get into traffic, there is a course that you have to test as well as an actual interview. So, we'll come and sit down, things like that, talk about, how you do, Of course, I'm going to be watching you in the field the moment you put that LOI in. I'm going to be watching you like a hawk, and you guys know how much of, an asshole I can be sometimes, and how strict I can be. I expect the best from traffic because we're under, some of the heaviest eyes of the city, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? If anything gets called out, it's usually us and the interceptors. That being said, when we are good with it, it's very fucking helpful, and I think all of you can agree with that. That, once an interceptor's there, it becomes a lot easier to chase some of those cars. Moving forward,
Definitely.
like I said, LOIs will be open for a couple more days. Traffic, you need to pass a tier 1 interceptor course, which is those white chargers. It is a time-based course that I have done. We've already had a couple people pass it. It's really, if you have some sort of brain cells, it's not that hard. The way that traffic and SWAT move together, and let's say, for example, clouds, you want to be a part of traffic, you put in your LOI, but you also want to be a member of SWAT. You want to be a certified member. The guideline we have in place in the SOP for something like that is that whenever you're in an interceptor, you cannot be carrying any of your SWAT equipment. It's just a safety. You know what I mean? We don't want everybody to have everything all at once. It causes, a lot of headaches for us. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Anybody have questions on how traffic works? Anything to do with that? We also encompass MBU and Air 1. Motor will be coming soon. Copium. The track is done. Talk to that man in the funny bulletproof helmet over there. He'll tell you when it will be done, things like that. I've delegated that to him. If you feel like he's doing a horrible job, give me 1 second, Ray. I'll call on you in a second. If you feel like he's doing a horrible job, come to me.
Is traffic a division or a cert?
Division. You cannot be a part-time member of traffic.
4.
Ray, what was your question?
Do you have to be a member of TU to get the Air 1 and Moto cert?
That is what I was just about to move into. So, those 2 are certs. The interceptors are not. The interceptors, you have to be a full-time member of that division. MBU and Air 1 are not. If you feel like you have the capacity and the skills to, ride on MBU and be, good on it, same thing with flying Air 1, once those LOIs are open, anybody is welcome to join, including detectives. Including SWAT, including just regular patrol guys who don't want to be a part of a division. Anybody can apply to them. Any questions on that? They will be a
We'll
similar.
clear that in the SOP. So
That'll be a little
everyone's
bit
on
more
the same
clear
page.
as they come out. It will be the same formatting for applying as regular traffic in the sense of there will be an interview. We'll be watching how you do, and then there will be a actual course you have to take to make sure that you are as good as you say you are. Alrighty. Getting into Air 1. Air 1 will probably come a little bit later than MBU because MBU is just about done. It is being worked on. It will come out very soon. So, don't get your panties in a twist that Air 1's not out. If you think you have what it takes to be Air 1, keep an eye out for those LOIs. I believe currently Sergeant Daniels is working on it. He's been taking a week off, so that's why they aren't, completely done right now. Any questions regarding MBU or Air 1? Anybody? Going once, going twice. Perfect. Just that good. Other thing I want to go over is how we deal with EMS on scenes, because it's been a fucking headache and a clusterfuck. When EMS is on duty, 311s are there. They're all of them. Unless either they contact us to feel that they are in danger, or it's a situation we feel we need to respond to. You guys are welcome to go. Just remember to check if there's EMS on duty before you transport people. I've had EMS come to me complaining that, they get to a call because their cars are so slow, and we're already at Oceanside with their guy, and we didn't realize that they were on duty. And it's just a waste of their time. It makes them feel horrible. I'm sure you guys would feel the same way if, we had a bank robbery, you called that you were, on your way, and then when you get there, you're unit captain, you get told that, you can't be on the scene. It feels like shit. Think about how it feels for them when they only get down calls. Moving on. When we're doing shootouts, EMS has to stage. They can't just roll up onto the scene. Make sure you make that explicitly clear to them that, hey, stage, at this specific triage point, or, 3 blocks away. Let's say that we're having a shootout right here. Hey, stage over by Salieri's, or, even farther, stage over by Pillbox. This way they aren't going to get hurt. That's one of our priorities, is they matter just as much as us. You know what I mean? When, there's people down and one of them's EMS, they should be on the top of our priority list. Because, they're saving us. How are we not going to save them? Any questions on how we deal with EMS? When you guys are in Oceanside, make sure you're not stepping on their toes. It's not something I've had people complain about. I know we don't have access to all their doors. And sometimes it's a little bit weird on how we are supposed to deal with that. Try to keep eyes on the suspect at all times. If you need to, cuff them to the bed. Just be mindful of them trying to do their job. We don't want to be shadowing over them all day. I'm going to ignore him. Anyway, things like that. Last thing I want to go over when it comes to Oceanside, while we're on that topic, is how we lock down Oceanside. I know it's kind of different every single time. When we have a high priority situation and, people who have been actively shooting, there seems like there's people trying to drive around, trying to break out their friends with guns, things like that. We lock down Oceanside. What that really means is the back 2 doors of Oceanside are walkable. That goes right into the emergency room. We would have officers staged outside of them, have people use their cars as, kind of roadblocks, and have one officer out front to make sure we're not about to get ambushed when we walk them outside, and that nobody's bringing a hostage in through the front door. It's happened before. I've dealt with it all the time. In old pillbox, people used to sit outside in the bushes right outside the front door with like class 3s to try to break their friends up. When we're doing a lockdown on Oceanside, just make sure you're doing something. I don't want to see anybody standing around. The only people that should be inside of that emergency room are the primary and each person who searched the suspect. There's actually one thing I want to go over with that. Violet, do you want to take over passing primary and delegation of paperwork and things like that, or do you want me to just do it while I'm up here?
No, go ahead.
All right. Does anyone have any questions on medical, Oceanside, locking down, anything to do with that while we're on this topic? Once going twice, and don't say
I'd like to
hands.
point out that we can get IFACs, but only from EMS personnel.
Yes, I forgot about that. They do have access to IFACs. Be careful. They're fucking heavy as shit. I think they're 3 kilograms a piece. Or no, they're 2, sorry. But they help a lot. So if you guys need, go to EMS. Any of them can help you. Obviously, if there's a member of command over there that are around, they may be able to help you a little bit more. They know more about it. They do cost money. They may ask you for some money. I think it's like $50 an IFAC or something like that, but it's not that expensive, all right? Just be careful how many you carry on them. I wouldn't carry more than 3 on you at a time, since once they get into the wrong hands, they're very powerful. Any questions on that? Thank you for bringing that up, Ray. I forgot about that.
I'll try and put in an order for PD, and we'll keep them in the lunchroom area with the food and equipment as well.
Perfect. All right. Moving on to the last topic I'm going to cover. I know you guys just want to keep on hearing my beautiful voice. Is passing off paperwork. Because this is starting to get on my nerves. Not going to lie. I don't understand why on situations the first question that is asked every single time is who is primary, who is doing the paperwork, who is processing. If you are on the scene, let's say we're on a 1080 and, you know, it turns into a foot chase, they 1050 out because they're horrible at driving, and you tase a suspect and cuff him, that is now your guy. You are processing that guy. It's not you get to MRPD and you pass it off to primary and you walk away. Search him, read him his rights, bring him to medical, you fingerprint him, mugshot him, process him.
DNA.
The report, DNA and fingerprint, if I didn't say that, that is your guy. You can help them figure out the charges. Although, you know, one person may volunteer to write the report. If nobody does, just write the fucking report. It takes 5 minutes, guys. Like, it's not that hard. It really isn't. You know, if you really are not feeling like writing a report, you have 24 hours to complete reports. Now, that doesn't mean, like some people we have, you should be waiting the full 24 hours to write every single report possible. All right, I don't want to see that because it causes more headaches for us when we try to put warrants out and there's no reports. You know, there's nothing I can do about it. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Does anybody have any questions when it comes to that? Make sure when we are on scenes like that, also we have somebody staying behind with the vehicle. I should probably go over vehicle strikes too. I'll do that after this. Make sure someone's staying behind with the vehicle collecting evidence, you know, things like that. Even, you know, back at the, let's say they hit a Bobcat or a Fleeka, you know, they stay back at the original building, look for blood, fingerprints, anything to do with it. It could help the detectives put together a warrant or, you know, figure out how they're robbing these places to try to stop it from happening continuously. All right. Remember that you can do evidence sweeps, things like that. Remember our cameras work. You know, it's not like they don't work. It makes our lives a lot easier. Any questions on staying behind with evidence? It's not a way to dodge paperwork, by the way. I don't want to see it happening. All right, perfect. Last thing I'll bring up. Yeah, we're a team at the end of the day. I don't want to hear people feeling like they're doing all the work. You know what I mean? Last thing I'm going to go over is vehicle strikes and impound fees, because that was an announcement that wasn't brought up in person too much. Riker has done myself. Or 96. You can just look up vehicle strikes. A whole report will come up on how you do vehicle strikes. You know, how much money you're supposed to impound fee. Holding does not work currently. We don't have a way to hold the vehicles, but that will be a thing soon. You know, and at the 5th strike, we seize. So if people are using their personal cars, I know that I've had probably 50% of this room complain to me that people are using their personal cars and getting highway blasted. How are we going to stop that if we're not striking people's cars and giving them consequences for it? That's why those vehicle strikes and impound fees are in place. So if you are going to strike somebody's car, there's a format to follow. It's pretty simple. If it's not already in that report, I will put it in there. Main thing with that, make sure you put in there which number strike it is, who's giving it, the date, and the incident number attached. Any questions on that? We only strike vehicles when we are impounding them. So if somebody drives away from you and we have enough for a warrant for their arrest, doesn't mean we have enough to give a strike on their vehicle. We need to have their vehicle in custody to actually give a strike. I can't just, you know, give it over the MDT. I never caught the car, nothing like that. Make sense? Yes, no, maybe so. All right. That's all
Making
for me.
sense. Lots of sense.
Whoever else wants.
I just have one last thing before we open the floor. I just want to quickly go over promotion, and that sort of thing, what's been happening in there. Just want to let everybody know that we are still looking for more members of our supervisory team, as well as our command team. So the way that it normally works is we just kind of keep an eye on, see if you guys can handle the work. If it's something that you want to do, you know, start taking some more initiatives in your departments. Speak to the heads of the department, see where you can help out. If you are interested in becoming a supervisor or that's something you want to work towards, feel free to come talk to me so we can kind of maybe help you grow into those positions if you need extra training. We don't want anyone to feel like they're being held back. So if that's something you're interested in, It will take some time, but we have a really great core group of officers here, so I have zero doubt that any of you in this room could be trained into those positions if you wanted them. So please reach out if that's something you're interested in. Other than that, I think that wraps it up from our side of things, but we did want to have an open floor session for anyone who wants to bring up any comments, concerns, just anything. This is kind of your time to do that. We will be having these meetings once a month, but
I do want to say something before we go
oh,
into.
sorry.
You're good. Yeah, just kind of a thank you for me. I appreciate all you guys and the hard work you guys are putting in, even when it's rough. I mean, you guys push through a lot of the time, and you'll do the reports, you'll do the grunt work, no matter what it takes. At the end of the day, like the whole team thing, we're all here to make PD, and I also want to say, accountability is a big thing. If you guys see something that supervisor's doing wrong, or maybe I'm fucking doing something wrong, I'll admit that 100% all the time. So just bring it up, and feel like we can all grow together, grow as a team. I know that sounds like corny and cheesy as shit. That's just the truth. I don't know how else to say it. So I'm pretty straightforward, and if there's any problems with any of us, let us know. We can only do better if we know what we need to work on. So just having that kind of open the floor into what you guys want to talk with, unless you guys had something else that you forgot or something.
Can you
Definitely
go
did.
over the social media policy?
Oh, yeah. Generally, when you're on duty, I mean, it's a pretty it's a blanket statement, really. As far as social media goes, you're free to post on it, right? The First Amendment and all that. But I really don't want to have to make like an actual policy to restrict you guys from saying what you want to say. Don't be stupid with it. Don't call criminals stupid. Don't tell them that they have a strike on their car or anything like that. It's just unprofessional. It's not a good look. You had something on that game?
Uh, hold on. Let me talk a little louder. Yeah, onto this here. Be very, very, very careful. When if you are gonna post on social media, because there has been a situation where criminals will say something to you to get you to post on social media, so they know that you are around on duty, so they can attack you. This has happened. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're not trying to restrict you from doing what you want on social media, but keep in mind you do have a job. You do have to keep it professional, and preferring that anything involving like police interactions or what we do on a day to day like job basis just stays on the job and not on any social media of any sort. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. And if you guys have concerns, please bring them up now. Hopefully, if you do have or even just comments or questions, anything like that, it's your time to shine. Go ahead.
Um, I wanted to bring two things up. The first one, so I guess these are kind of intertwined. So occasionally we'll have pursuits where suspects will ram into our vehicles at either high rates of speed or with intentions to harm officers severely. They're not pitting officers, they're directly ramming head on or T-boning officers. And I was wondering if there's going to be some sort of escalation of force towards the interference vehicles rather than escalation towards the primary. Because I see a lot of moments on duty where an interference vehicle will show up, and because of it, we end up going, more force on the primary vehicle. And I understand that to an extent, but I've seen some pretty serious rams and some other stuff on duty which just completely immobilize the vehicle. Um, just instantaneously and kind of put them in a weird situation. I'm worried about. I obviously want to stop the pursuit if we can, but I don't want to harm the suspects in doing so.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's more of a frost thing. I'd say if the interference is ramming or to the point of like where it's an assault with the deadly, like 100
Mhm.
miles and above, I mean, I would say it's just an attempt on life. Like at that point, it should be escalated to deadly force. I don't know.
I can give a full
Raj,
answer
you
on that.
can- Go ahead.
So, if people are ramming you as interference vehicles or as the primary vehicles at high rates of speed, it is considered assault with a deadly. Because a vehicle, no way, it isn't actually a deadly weapon. If it's continuous and they ram you at extremely high rates of speed, at that point it's self-defense to shoot out tires. Have people break off and follow that car. But at that point, he's involved in the situation. If we put a lot of pressure on that car, there's a chance that he won't come back. If they continue to ram your car over and over again at high rates of speed, pop their tires. Obviously, we're not popping tires at 140 miles an hour. I think I said this to a couple officers last night. People shouldn't be popping tires at really over 70 miles an hour because they'll spin out. But at a certain point, you have to be scared that they're going to put you in a wall and kill you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Whoever is the highest on duty, preferably a sergeant, can clear that, and they'll be able to give you the best way to go about things.
and I would definitely give them a warning. Personally, I'd like to avoid, you better stop before you get shot. But just give them a general warning. If you don't stop, we'll escalate or something like.
So going on top of that as well, like, what is the guidelines on officers shooting from vehicles though? Because on my first day, there was a situation where a police vehicle was stolen. I'd previously been advised, not to shoot, not being able to shoot from the vehicle to, immobilize the vehicle in front. And then next thing you know, other officers were shooting to pop the tires. So, like, are we allowed to shoot from our vehicles? Is it drivers or passengers only, or what's the sort of guidelines around that?
I mean, we haven't set in guidelines as far as like if you can't, or if you can or can't. I'd say if the situation is in that dire of need of a situation, then yeah. I mean, I don't see really a big problem with it.
So if we are, sincerely threatened with our life, we are able to shoot from our vehicles to defend ourselves.
Correct. There's nothing in the SOP that
Yeah.
disallows.
I just want to clarify that.
I
Yeah,
would
no,
avoid using your vehicles in shootouts where they're on foot, please. Just don't be an asshole with it.
Yeah.
You have a lot of freedom. There's a lot of cities
I'm
where
more thinking, a vehicle chasing behind me, shooting at me whilst I'm
Yep.
trying to escape, maybe shooting back,
you're
just
definitely able to
trying to
shoot back
deter
in that
them from
situation.
keeping up.
But if they're on foot shootout, we give you a lot of leeway with these things. Don't be that guy. That is you're sitting in your car doing fucking circles and drive-by shooting like you're a gang member.
And always, if it's a situation that you're unsure of, just ask your supervisor that's on duty as well.
if it's possible. Obviously, shootouts are pretty like hectic things that need reaction pretty quickly. Just think about it sensically, logically. I don't know if sensically is a word, but it isn't that.
Mm-hmm.
But
I have another question.
That's all good.
So I know in the SOP, or at least I don't believe, someone can inform me if I'm wrong on this, but there's no like mandatory timer between pits. Is that like intended? Because I've seen some officers just, pit into pit into pit, and I just, it
Don't nail
seems
that, bro.
a bit excessive sometimes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I don't believe that we actually do have a time currently in the SOP. I could 100% be wrong. But does anyone know who's outside that door who keeps on walking in circles?
That's dispatch.
We have dispatch? Oh, it's
Kiana.
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 Oh my
Kiana.
god, she confused the shit out of me.
Yeah, I don't know why you said
I've never
dispatch.
seen her wear that. Anyway, we don't have a time in between pits. Now, with that freedom, we expect you not to be assholes, so I don't have to make the time. If they're shooting you, put them in a fucking wall. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I don't expect you to give it 30 seconds before you can pit again. If it's a normal chase, they're not doing rat strats, they're not doing car swaps, and they're just trying to have an enjoyable chase with you guys, give them some leeway. There'll be times that I don't approve pits until, our pit timer is 5 minutes. There's times I don't approve pits till like 8 minutes because they're giving us a fun chase. We need to encourage people to give us fun chases and not be dicks and be harder on the people who don't give us fun chases because that's how we get what we want at the end of the day. Does that cover your question?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Okay.
All right, guys, not all at once.
How often do we restock the break room?
All right, I got one. Vehicle boost.
Yeah, real questions only. Thank you. Chow, go. What was your question? Vehicle boost?
So we do have like a tracker on them. I think I kind of suggested to Hatchet about waiting till after the like transmitter's like deactivated on it to start the pit timer.
Yeah, I think that was brought up. I think we'll talk about it more as command. We'll probably put that in the SOP just to clarify. But I think I think we're in agreement on that as far as like the higher class boosts that have trackers on.
Just remember that it keeps a long time, or it takes a long time to get those boosts. Sometimes, they have to wait a long time. They may cost a lot of money. Don't make them feel like they wasted their money. Give them at least a fair chase.
Yeah, 100%.
I got a question. For technical, is there any way, or has this already been kind of sent to our technical support team? When fingerprinting, the fingerprint scanner itself, is there any way to get that transferred to the suspect profile automatically? And also, the finger, yeah, the fingerprint part, yep. And then also like collecting of the DNA evidence, because in the bag, being able to easily what's the word, easily obtain those numbers a little bit quicker than having to manually input each individual letter into the system.
I'd say with fingerprints, it'd probably be pretty easy. I think with the DNA, we would just be able to hopefully be able to just copy the number from the bag.
Yeah, I'm saying
we could definitely look into that. It's just it's very like it would be a nice quality of life thing. It's just a small thing.
Similar
So
to the serial number of a gun. The way we collect that, if the DNA can be done the same way, very very helpful.
Yeah, it used to work like that prior. Something happened and it no longer works like that. We'll try to see if we can get it back to that. Because I've been aware of that too, and I've had people come to me about it as well.
Yeah, I spoke to the IT department. They're working on it at the moment.
Perfect. There's your answer.
Well, perfect.
Any
May
more
I
questions?
ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Make sure you're shouting, Kiana.
Yeah, you're a little quiet.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yep.
People that come into the lobby shopping for the yes to avoid the no. There have been numerous people that come into the lobby wanting things back, wanting exception to the response that an officer has already given them, and they immediately get on the phone and call their friend in high command. And then either, if you guys are not even on duty, you're coming in on duty and kind of, addressing the situation. If that continues, people are not going to take what these officers say seriously. Can we give some consideration to that when people are reaching out to you and asking for, it comes off looking like favoritism, or, that I may not be saying this very nicely, but I'm just seeing more and more of that happen where the officer who is on the case is getting, kind of stepped on by the individual who's coming in and making the request, and they're going straight to, high command or command.
Do you have an example of a situation?
Turtle came into the lobby with his lawyer, and we explained to him that you weren't available and you were actually on a vacation. And his lawyer got on the phone and called you several times, where the chief came down, looked at the situation. I don't know what the outcome of that was. But it was just like, the pressure and the demand or the power shifted from the officer who was actually negotiating with that person in the lobby to the lawyer calling one of you and saying, "Hey, I want this now." And I
Yeah,
don't know what
and
they, like
I
I
can go
said,
over that.
yeah, I don't
Sorry, I
know
didn't mean
what
to
that
interrupt.
scenario, in full, but again, I think that it just kind of sets a bad precedence when, certain people who have you on speed dial uses that power, continuously.
Yeah, so I can go over that. Mr. McKenzie called me. Um, And first of all, I don't know. I told him multiple times over the phone that he needs to go to the officer. And the only reason I came down was honestly to yell at him because I didn't appreciate being called in as somebody he thinks he knows or somebody he thinks he can get out of or get things out of, which is why and maybe Justice, you can, comment if you felt otherwise, but I handed it off completely to Justice and Gant that both handled the situation. Um, I just looked over it and wanted to get this side of it. But I mean, I didn't see any issues, and I wanted them to handle the issues. But I mean, in future, there's not going to be, oh well, I know this person, so I'm going to call them and get them to handle the issue. I'm not personally going to handle those issues, and I didn't get to say to Mr. McKenzie then, but I will definitely call him after this and let him know that if he wants something done, he goes through the officers, through you guys, and go from there. Like I said, Justice, was that handled like well from my side? Or, you can be honest with it.
Yes, I complete 100% honesty. I feel like you handled it as a chief should. You came down, you checked out the situation, saw that it was handleable by people other than yourself, and you just handed it off to me as it should have been. You called me up while I was mid-report, said this and this is going on because I wasn't entirely aware of it, and you handed it straight off to me.
Hello, how are you?
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure. Like I said, I mean, I think at the end of the day, people can call whoever they want.
Okay,
But
have you
if you guys have
called
evidence or you guys have something on them, I mean,
okay.
and they're being dicks. I think the only thing I came down there was that was they were claiming that you were withholding evidence, but once I found that wasn't true, that like or you were withholding their items or whatever. But once I found that wasn't true, I mean, like I said, handed it off to you guys.
Needs
But I
to
understand.
do that
I think I
right
understand Kiana's
now.
concern with it.
Yeah,
I
I think
definitely.
the concern on a different from a different viewpoint of it is not the idea that you handled it wrong, just the viewpoint of be mindful that people are utilizing their relationships are in or like if they do have a number of officers. Some people are using that as a means to kind of like brag or say, "Oh, okay, well, since you won't do it, I'll just contact so and so and to get them down here." So just be mindful of that part. It's not about it's not from your
I
perspective.
got you.
It's just in that situation. I think if I recall right, it was kind of a statement made by them of a
Blake.
I'll just call them and get this resolved type of deal. So they're using it's on the other side. They're using their relationship with officers to get to kind of use it against the officer that they're dealing with. In a way, like, oh, if you won't get it done, I know somebody who will. So let me call, and then they'll call that officer that they want to call, and then say, hey, can you come down here? Da da da. This is what's going on, and then it's almost like they look at they're using it as a weapon. So that's the
Yeah, they're
concern.
shopping for the
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
Just be careful. They're not using you as a weapon. It wasn't like anything that you did. You handled it perfect.
No, I got you.
Yeah, other
No,
people are
I understand.
using their relationship with officers as a weapon. So just be mindful.
Yeah, and
I
I'm
got
sorry if I didn't articulate that very well. It's just, yeah, they are shopping for the yes. You call as
you. Yeah.
many people as you can. You get constant no's until you get that one person that will, give them the attention that they're looking for.
About to say, if anything, I wanted to throw the book at them more because they called me.
Me too.
Yeah,
So that's
so
just my opinion. But
so
I 100%. I get what you.
yeah, like I said, in my opinion, the chief did everything right there. It's just as simple as if you're not primary, and primary has it handled, stay out of their way, which the chief did perfectly. Like
It
he
probably
didn't need
would
to
have been
step
better if
in.
I didn't need to be there, to be completely honest. I think is what what they're
Well,
saying.
I mean, you were
It would've been- it
investigating
would've been better.
wrongdoing. You were investigating wrongdoing that they supposedly said I was doing, which I think is 100% in your rights, and I'm happy you did it. I'd be kind of thrown off if you didn't investigate that.
I think it would be a very bad look if something went to court and it was documented that command was reached out to by a lawyer or by a suspect, and we didn't do at least an investigation on our end. It just looks like we're faulting on our job too.
I 100% agree. He did his investigation, found that there was no wrongdoing, and then handed it back off to me. I think he did a perfect job.
I do appreciate it, but yeah, I guess everyone to keep in mind. People just looking for what they want, and that's it. So they definitely use us against each other if they can. Definitely be mine.
If anybody else has any questions like that or any concerns like that, I mean, that's what these meetings are for. You know, if you guys are worrisome about the way that, you know, any three of us handle, you know, any situation, or even, you know, Hatchet or a sergeant or anybody like that, that's what this is here for. You know what I mean? It's so that, you know, you don't feel intimidated coming to us one-on-one. You have, you know, your officers behind you. If you would like to bring something up about a way that we handle something or the way that we do something, bring it up. You know, we're not going to bite your head off for doing it. You won't get yelled at, nothing like that. You know, if you have any worries like that, please bring them up.
Vote.
Yeah, 100%. Anything else? Anybody? Anything else they want to talk about? Concerns, comments, questions?
So since the city has recently moved to another place, technically, we've been starting to see a lot more helicopters and planes around. And I've been hearing yesterday there was a crew that kept getting into a helicopter and flying off. What is we supposed to do about that if there's no one to follow them?
So that is like the urgent thing that we're trying to get done with the Air 1 SOP, just so we have a way to combat that. But if you can get like positive identification of them, it is a capital C charge. We can get a warrant out for I think unlicensed use of an aircraft or something like that. It's a pretty hefty crime for what it is. But yeah, hopefully, I think the big thing, obviously, just having Air 1 available. You know, until further information comes out, I guess.
Dirty criminals.
And what about, you know, like at the moment? So, like, a lot of these times, these criminals are masked and unidentifiable. So, like, the fact that they get in that chopper and take off, it's pretty much case gone. They're gone. You know, most of them wear gloves and stuff, so the fingerprints are never on scene. Would we be allowed to attempt to disable the helicopter, maybe shooting the rear rudder on it, you know, the rear propeller, or?
I would say we can kind of go over that, but
I went over this briefly yesterday with a group of officers last night on how to deal with it. For the time being, until you guys hear anything specifically regarding this, don't shoot them, don't ram into them. Let us try to figure out what we can and can't do and see where the line in the sand is before we start problems, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know it's an unfortunate situation to be in, especially with helicopters and how annoying they can be. So I do apologize. It's just a tough situation we're in currently with.
So I have something in regards to the SOP update. I just wanted to get Command's opinion on this. Returning firearms to people who don't need them confiscated. Like somebody has a firearms license, you arrest them for evading. You know, they don't lose their license over that. What's the opinion on returning the firearm unloaded but not returning ammunition, live ammunition? For that, they have to come and retrieve it without their firearm. So we're not giving inmates loaded weapons before we send them off, just for that split second.
They should be coming back to receive their weapons regardless, to be completely honest. We shouldn't be giving them to them before we send them off as a, you know, on the side for DOJ to give back. If they are coming back to get their firearm, they should come after they get back out of jail.
I agree, but that also still falls under the returning of live ammunition to somebody. Like, I personally wouldn't want to be Kiana returning a firearm to somebody who got arrested, as well as like their ammo and the guns loaded. I'd want to give it to give them the gun, They go out to their vehicle, put it away, they come back for the ammo, type thing.
But so you could just leave it separated.
Yeah, I usually
That's something that
separate
we'll
them.
probably have to have a bigger conversation on, and we'll have to get back to you on.
Me, $12.
I had a follow up for that. So I guess I've run into the same situation before, where somebody wanted an item back that we could conceivably give back, but in an instance I wouldn't have access to pull it out of the evidence locker. Who can do that?
Supervisors. I believe it's
Okay.
corporals and above, and if it's not corporals, it's sergeants. I think it is corporals and
So
above though.
in the scenario, say that one's not available, I should just tell them to come back later for it.
Yep, they're gonna have to come back later. They can call Kiana on the service line
Okay.
and ask her if there's a supervisor available to talk to.
Okay, thank you.
And feel free to leave a note on like their profile or even on the report that they contacted you and that they're setting up another date, just so we can keep a paper trail.
Okay, will do.
Any more questions regarding anything? Doesn't have to be just in topics of what we discussed already. In regards to the heli situation, I will be in Air 1 more often, and I am on top of Daniel's trying to get that done as soon as possible to get some more people up there. But for the time being, myself and Monroe, for the most part, will especially I'll try to be up there a little more often for Bobcats and Fleekas to try to make sure we're combating it properly.
And I will say, if you guys have suggestions, obviously not everything sent to us will probably be put in, but if you have things that you think are missing from the SOP, or certain things you'd like to see, it doesn't have to be like the full written policy. It could just be like an idea that you have. Send it our way and see about it. I mean, there's never a time where the SOP will cover like absolutely everything. Unfortunately, we'll try to keep it covering as much as possible, in a reasonable way, anyway.
Also, I've seen, just to make a note on like the DOJ side, I work with the DOJ quite a bit, the private attorneys quite a bit, and lately I've seen a lot of them pushing, oh, this isn't explicitly in the SOP, therefore you are wrong and my client should be let go, or, oh, this is listed in the SOP, but you did this, therefore you are wrong, my client should be let go. If you're dealing with that and the cells say nobody's around to help you or anything, just honestly double down, right? I think there's a pretty solid trust in officers that you guys used sound judgment, and that is ultimately what matters. If the SOP says do it one way and you did it another way, but you still did it of sound judgment and you can articulate that judgment later, right? Like don't be worried, don't cave in to people saying, oh, because it's listed this and you did this, or because it's not listed then you're wrong, right? Like as long as you're using sound judgment and you can articulate that judgment, you are always going to be in the right.
So, as a lawyer, I can tell you firsthand, it is not a lawyer's job to argue within the cells. They are there to verify that their client's rights are not being violated. If they try to start arguing charges or arguing semantics, you can end the conversation there and call for a supervisor. Their only job in the cells is to verify their rights are not being violated. That is it.
Effectively what I said, but thank you.
I want to bring up an issue too that, well, I don't know if it's an issue. It may just be something we have to, that is legal and that's what they can do. And if it is, say that. If not, it may be an issue. But I'm seeing a lot of the warrants are currently listed in the MDT under the dashboard active warrants. A lot of people when the warrants are there are getting heads up on those warrants from, and I'm pretty sure it's coming from private lawyers. Because I believe they can actually see those warrants in MDT, but they can't see what it's about. Because a lot of times I have gotten calls asking, "Hey, what's my warrant about?" And they would already know they have a warrant before even been told that they have a warrant. I don't know if that's an issue when it pertains to what attorneys are allowed to do, or if that's actually something that they are allowed to.
due to how the city works, as far as the Freedom of Information Act and how the DOJ views that, they are allowed to know they have a warrant. A private attorney is allowed to observe all of the warrants and tell people, hey, you have a warrant. But again, what the warrant is for is intentionally kept private, so we don't compromise any ongoing investigations. But the fact that they have a warrant is technically considered public information, and however they acquire that knowledge, they are allowed to have it.
Well, that's what I wanted to clear up and make sure. Thank you.
I was pretty sure they didn't have access to that anymore, but maybe I'm.
They're not supposed
I don't
to
know
be
if
able
I
to.
don't know if they can see it, but the knowledge that the warrant exists is technically accurate, and it's likely being discovered through the email chain. So that might be a separate issue. But
I thought they
I
may
think
have been getting it from the
I'm pretty sure
MDT
it's just.
itself, off the
Yeah,
front
it's pretty.
page.
I'm pretty sure it's just the MDT that they're looking at that
Yeah.
they like shouldn't be looking at. So I think that's another issue in and of itself.
And they have access. From what I've collected, is they're able to view on the MDT on the front page. So on the dashboard, it will say like, I believe there's 3 warrants right now. It'll say the name, but it won't say. They can't get into it. They can't look and see what it's about. They just see that there's. But that's however the court decided that's public or not. I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up as. Just bring it up to see.
I mean, in my opinion, I feel like they should have to subpoena for the warrant. Then again,
that's what I pitched that, but Valentone didn't want to go for that. He said as long as they can't subpoena for the information, and essentially the trade was they cannot get the contents of the warrant, they can only get the name, or it was they can subpoena, but we have to turn over the entire thing in its entirety. So that was the trade we made way back when.
Well, then maybe it's not that bad of a situation that we're in, but I don't. Definitely complex as far as DOJ goes.
Yes.
But yeah. All right. Anything else? Sounds is definite. Well, yeah. Unless anybody else back here has anything to say or any comments, then I think we could adjourn the meeting.
Hey, we're good to go.
Just
Appreciate
want
you
to
guys coming.
remind everybody that we have the arcade currently booked out for the next hour and a half. So I'd love for everyone to go and just enjoy some fun times with everybody. There's also open bar and everything there too. It's completely private event, locked doors, so
Except for
you can show
Ratchet.
up in uniform.
Oh my god, he heard open bar and he dipped.
You can show up in uniform. It'd just be fun to go and get everybody shooting each other for a little bit and maybe driving some cars in the VR.
Chief, are you going?
That's it.
He wants to go real quick.
We're all going.
Yeah, I gotta think